Welcome back. All right, in the second segment here of Talk TV with Joe Silvestri, we're going to talk politics. And I haven't gotten down dirty with anybody lately in actual politics. Joe, what I want to talk about, and you're well familiar with it, is the debates and how those are handled these days,
Yeah,
the history of them, and like to get your thoughts on that if I can.
Well, I've been asked a lot recently, hey, did you watch the debate? And I know a lot of people do, but I did not. And I generally don't. I consider them a farce. And when I say the debate or the debates, we're talking about the debates that are currently put on by the Commission on Presidential Debates. And it's a farce. It is not meant to enlighten the American public. It serves the interests of the Democrats and Republicans. And I really don't have any respect for the CPD. They're an organization that keeps things the way they are.
All sewn up nice and tight.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's no, Gary Johnson's not in that debate. The other third-party candidates are not in that debate. You're not going to hear any real difference. Obama and Romney, there's not much difference between the two of them. They're both going to keep spending up. They're both going to continue to assault our civil liberties. They're going to both continue to make war on other people throughout the world. They're both going to ignore Congress and do what they want. I don't see any change coming from them, and I understand the folks that are tied into that Democrat-Republican fear, spectrum, but I'm not there. I want to see some true change. So the debates don't offer any sort of enlightened discussion, no real open dialogue. They're rigged, they're controlled. These guys know what questions are coming. They prepare them weeks in advance. There's no surprises. It's a disservice to the American people. So I show my...
You know what surprises me about this, too, is that large corporations aren't known for taking a real stand on something that everybody doesn't know about. Everybody doesn't know about the fact that the third-party candidates are getting shut out, and it's kind of a dirty tricks move in the way they do it. And a lot of sponsors for the debates dropped out.
Yeah.
They say, you know what?
Yeah.
It's kind of unseemly, and we'd rather not have any part of this.
Well, it doesn't give them any benefit. And the one thing that the third parties are doing, and especially the Gary Johnson campaign, is they have made it a public issue. They've really promoted it that this is wrong, that this is unfair. And so these companies that used to support and sponsor these debates are not getting any sort of positive benefit from doing so. They're actually being hammered for it. They're hurting their own brand, and so several of them this election cycle have dropped out. I think the sponsor numbers are down to 7, just 7 sponsors.
Right.
One of them is Philip Morris, who dropped. Philip Morris is a major company, large company, and they dropped out because they do not want to be seen as participating in what they consider a partisan thing. Another organization was the YWCA, the Young Women's Christian Association, and they promote themselves as being a nonpartisan group. They oppose racism. They support gender equality and women's rights, and they're a good traditional Christian organization, and they have withdrawn their support for the Commission on Presidential Debates because they clearly see it as a partisan event. So I'm glad to see this happening because it's going to force some change. Mm-hmm. I think the change comes when people stop watching these debates and treating them as though they're credible. Right. So I don't watch them. If I watch these guys speak, it's just to see how they turn a phrase. Mm-hmm. But being a history teacher and being a student of politics, what they say never matches what they do. And so I'll listen to what they say because they're both pretty good at shoveling words, but it's really what they do that matters. And most Americans, let's be honest, are not. They're not excited about politics.
I know.
They're busy. They're living their life.
Personally, I don't like to interject my feelings a lot, but it's just so laughable when you can't hardly find a hard and fast plan of action or anything. Yep. Candidate A says, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to create jobs. Really?
Yeah,
wow.
That's great. Yeah.
Governor Johnson the Libertarian candidate says, well, let's see, I'm going to abolish the IRS. Wow, that's quite a stand to take.
Right. I'll be the guy voting.
There's no him-hawing around on that one.
If I'm in Congress, I'd be voting to support.
Abolish the IRS. I just love that. I said, I can sink my teeth into that.
Yeah, oh yeah. Most Americans can.
Yeah.
Well, they like it. Now they have to break from the change. I hope that they'll consider voting third party. If they don't vote for Johnson, vote for Joe Silvestri. If they can't vote for Joe Silvestri, vote for Johnson. But get some libertarian votes in there, and it'll force these parties to make some adjustments. And the first time you do it, it's difficult if you've spent your whole life voting for the same old party. But my dad was he was a Barry Goldwater Republican, and he watched the Republicans turn into, well, nothing like the Barry Goldwater days. And, he spent his life supporting them, and he finally got fed up. And he read the same book, Why Government Doesn't Work, by Harry Brown, and the light went on with him. He goes, this guy is right. And he got fed up, and then we got George Bush. And by the end of Bush's 2 terms, he was really fed up with the Republicans. He was ready to vote for Obama, and I think he did one of the last time. I was like, Dad, what are you doing? This is, you're going to watch. You're looking for change, because he was so fed up with the Republicans and Bush. Yeah. He said, all right, we got to do something. And I said, you watch. You give it a year or two, and you watch what he does, and you're going to be throwing shoes at the TV again. And that's exactly what happened. He couldn't believe it. So I think my dad is just like millions of Americans who are fed up, looking for change. They keep swinging back and forth. And it's not going to change. It's a rigged game. These debates, the real debate is next Tuesday. There's a third-party debate. It's going to be hosted by Larry King, and which right off the bat gives it some credibility, because people have heard of him. And I'm not sure if it's going to be on TV. I think it is. It's definitely going to be broadcast live. In Las Vegas, we're going to be setting up a meetup just for people to come out and watch it. So if anyone wants to visit our website, it's lpnevada.org.
Tuesday, the 23rd of October?
23rd, yes. Okay. So what I'm looking to do is set up a meetup where we can have some food and drink, and watch the debate. It'll be interesting. And there you'll see some differences of opinion. And and there are live questions, too. I don't know if you know this, but before the Commission on Presidential Debates started hosting, and it's just in the last few years, I think it was 84 that they started doing this. League of Women Voters did that. Right. League of Voters has a long history of being a nonpartisan group that encourages public discourse on politics and tries to create a forum where all candidates can be heard and where voters can hear these views and be better informed. I think that's a wonderful service. It's one of the reasons I've supported the League of Women Voters for many years. And I consider them friends, because they've hosted debates and forums where I've attended. And to their credit, it's one of the rare times that I find a professional group like that offering out a forum for anybody but the Democrats and Republicans. Well, they finally gave up on the debates. And this was during the Dukakis George Bush campaign.
84.
And what they did, and this is like, don't listen to their words. Watch what they do. And Dukakis and Bush, their campaigns got together and they drafted this memorandum of understanding. And that's what they called it. And what it was they agreed that they were going to only allow certain journalists in. They were going to exclude anybody else that wasn't that didn't meet their approval. The ones that would ask.
It was going to be a scripted show.
Scripted show. They're going to know the questions. There was going to be no follow-up questions. Right. A follow-up question is something you can't prepare for.
Right.
If you're throwing a question that comes from the audience, you can't prepare for that. You can't. You could, but it's hard. You don't know what you're going to get. And then if there's a follow-up question based on your answer, how do you prepare for that? Very difficult to do. And so needless to say, the Democrats and Republicans don't want that for their candidates. So with, the American public is who suffers.
Right. It's our one of few chances to hear them go head-to-head, talk about real things, and we get cheated. Yeah. I feel. There's my personal opinion again.
I go with that one. I don't think you're alone either.
We need to take another quick break, Joe.
Right, okay.
And when we come back, we'll touch on some more interesting topics about this election cycle and the future of the country. Folks, don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Okay.